Yo, it's Third Grow Club, the channel's finna ignite. SaiyanXFlash, dropping knowledge every night. Born from pixels, shadows, wires sparking the light. Super Saiyan. Hey y'all, SaiyanXFlash here with Nerd Grow Club. I just wanted to let you guys know 5, not 10. I have an extra hand up. 5 things I wish I knew before I started growing. 1, the first thing that I wish I would have known about growing prior to actually growing is please do your research on nutrients before you start adding them. And the type of medium that you're growing in needs to be clarified with that nutrient, right? My problem was that I started off with Fox Farms, Happy Frog, and Ocean Forest. And I mixed those, and then I mixed 30% perlite in there. I did not realize how much nutrients are actually in that medium. A lot. Let's just say a lot. Sometimes you can get nuke burn right away. Sometimes your seed dies. It's part of the game that you kind of struggle with. So please do your research on nutrients and learn the feeding schedule. And know, pending if you're doing photos or autoflowers, that amount of nutrients that you feed it will definitely change, as well as the medium that you use and what kind of nutrients it already has. Mind blown. I know, right? Number two that I wish I would have known beforehand is knowing how I'm going to water my plant. Most people don't think about this. They see it as kind of, it's watering. What do you mean? Well, sometimes you can top water and then decide that you're going to feed those nutrients that we talked about in number 1, and you're going to do the top amendments. I don't do amendments, not yet. I might get into it, but I'm not huge onto that. I'd rather feed it through the water system, right? Are you going to bottom feed it? Are you going to top feed it though with your water? I mean, how are you going to water it, right? Are you going to water your leaves? Don't do that, by the way. You'll probably cause burn. But you really got to decide that, because for me, I used an autopot. I found an autopot was pretty simple. I was like, okay. Then I had the trouble of like, when do I start it? If I would have known that before starting, I wouldn't have went into straight panic mode as I was watering them and learning how to do that. And it made my life a lot easier once I figured it out. So you definitely want to make sure that you understand how you want to water your plant. That way, it might even make the decision of how you want to get your nutrients or what type of nutrients you want to use. So that's number 2 that I wish I would have known. Number 3 would definitely have to be lighting. Learn what PAR means, PPFD, and DLI. Now, obviously, those don't make a lot of sense right now, and I'll explain some of those in the future videos, but those are things that I want you to research prior to ever planting your seeds. Why? Because eventually you're going to run into an issue where you might overstimulate your plant by not letting it rest. I know for autoflowers, some people are like 24 hours. Believe me, it's kind of bro science at this point in time for me. 24 hours is too much. Your plant needs a rest period. Your plant needs a period where it can actually calm down to recover and then immediately use all the resources. Plus, your center will close and now it's not getting anything that it needs. That is definitely going to be a big thing though. Light DLI is the one thing that helps me really decide my PAR, where it should be at, and my PPFD, where it should kind of balance out. Now, 100% go and look up charts specific to photos and autoflowers, because there is a limitation. Plants just don't unlimitedly keep taking in light. There's a limit to how much they will take in. And if you overstimulate that with the light, it will burn. And then the jokingly part about watering your leaves and stuff, don't do that, because again, lighting, it'll burn that. You don't want that. It is bad news bears. So on to number 4. 4 is just learn everything that's going on inside of your grow room, right? You want to make sure that the room outside is good for heat and also humidity, because again, you don't want to do all this work and then it leads to problems because you're like, hey, by the way, my humidity is too high and I forgot to buy a dehumidifier. Don't do that. Don't do that. Plus, if you have the right circumstances, your dehumidifier can actually turn into your watering water. So it kind of gives you that versatility to have sparingly some extra water, opposed to having to always use your own tap or go buy distilled. But definitely research your room, and that doesn't have to be done beforehand. It can kind of be done in the beginning, but you want to see where your humidity and stuff goes, because I promise you, once your plants get big, they are going to start shooting humidity everywhere. And guess what? It's not good for plants. Humidity. It is for seeds. It's not for plants. As it gets older, it creates its own perspiration and stuff that it doesn't need that extra humidity, and it will just make it nasty and not work out. So definitely research that. That involves a humidifier, dehumidifier, as well as just figuring out how you want to place those in or outside of your tent, because you're going to have to deal with that as it comes up. Myself, I've dealt with high humidity days when we had a lot of rain, and I promise you, it was heartbeat, heartbeat the whole way. So please, 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 just pay attention for the first couple weeks. See how it goes after you're watering your plants and the pots kind of do their thing. And I promise you, you'll be in a much better position when it comes time to that. Promise you. Now this brings me to number 5. Now let me explain something. This is actually one of the biggest ones that I've learned so far. Everybody knows everything about everything except for you, because you're a new grower. And that's how it feels a lot of the times. And a lot of people base their stuff on bro science. And it's cool. Experimentation is cool. That's the idea of this science, of ordeal and documentation, is so that way you can experience your own sort of thing, like your own grow. The one thing that I did was focus too heavily on what one person said, and it kind of screwed me a little bit, because then I struggled to pay attention to what was going on with my plant. So that's kind of one of those things that don't do the bro science. Do your research. Do actual scientific study. I know it's a weed. It can just kind of grow. That's kind of people's opinions on this. However, it's not. If you want the best quality and the best possible way, with your end result being maximized to its fullest potential, you have to learn a little bit of the science behind it. I struggled with it at first because my brain is very analytical and data is very important to me. ADHD, you'll learn. It's just kind of who I am. However, when I stopped believing in just the bro science and I started looking up science facts and started listening to other instead of just one person, I started learning, and I started making something very beautiful. My grow tent has flourished and everything in it. I've had a few new problems, but because I decided to stop going on bro science and looking up how plants looked, as well as just kind of the nutrients they need in different stages, I learned. I was able to resolve those issues right away. See, the thing about autoflowers, and this is why I think they're going to be more difficult for people to start off with than photoperiod plants, is that autoflowers don't give you time to catch up. You have to predict what's going to happen next. And the moment you see something, you have to adjust yourself. That's not very easy all the time, right? It's not easy, because sometimes you panic, you forget things, and boom, here you are, your plant's burning and everything's going wrong. However, that's not where it ends, okay? You're going to learn, and then you're going to grow. That's just plain and simple. You got to learn. You got to make mistakes. Don't get stressed out by it. And remember, bro science is cool, and it's educational in a way that you learn some other things that people are doing, but real science facts speak for itself. The other part here, on part in relationship to this part of scientific fact, don't ask Reddit everything. Reddit knows some things, and they will help you, and they're definitely helpful. Don't think that they're not. But research is better, because then you can look up facts and you just kind of know it, right? But on that note, guys, that's my 5 tips that I wish I would have learned before growing. And now I'm going to give you guys some other stuff later. But just know, you guys got this. We're in this together. We're a bunch of Growmies. So on the next episode, I'll catch you, and make sure that you hit that like and subscribe. I know I'm entering it at the last minute, but you guys got it. Thanks, guys.
Yo, it's Third Glow Club, the channel's finna ignite. SaiyanXFlash, dropping knowledge every night.